I'm going to tie a nymph. I don't tie many nymphs, but this is one of them. There's a few nymphs that I tie. This is one of them. And this is Bryn's March Brown nymph. That's what it's called. A guy named Bryn Bodie came up with it, and he's a good friend of mine. And I wanted to put it up here because I've been tying a bunch of them for this season. And I don't nymph much. I should nymph more. I think this season I will. I usually leave nymphing to early season, so this month being April, in fact today's opening day, but there's a giant pile of snow on the ground, so I'm not fishing, I'm tying. But yeah, I leave nymphing till like April, and kind of when it's a little bit high and dirty, I like to nymph or throw a streamer, one of those two. So usually it's maybe 10% of the time I'm nymphing, but I think this year I'm going to move that up to maybe 15 or 20% because I like it. I like it, and I want to get better at it for sure. All right, so we're going to tie this nymph here. It's a big nymph. It's very heavy. It's a really good anchor nymph, and I don't have many anchor nymphs, and it's one of the reasons why I want to tie this a lot more. It's extremely heavy, and it's going to straighten your rig out. That's really what you want. You want this thing hitting the bottom and straightening it out and keeping it tight. All right, so the hook I'm using here is this one. It's this size 8 sedge caddis from Partridge. You can see the number there. It's a curved hook, and the bead that I'm using is, I don't have the size on this package, but it's gigantic. And I think you really kind of just got to use the biggest one you can really get in there to make look good. Let me see, maybe I can find out something of what it's probably, I'm going to say, I got a package here, and this one's smaller, and this says 5/32. So I bet you this is a 3/16 bead. That's what I think this is, 3/16 bead. And we're also going to add some lead to it. If I can find the bobbin, here it is. So this is just 015. 015. And I put it on a spool or a bobbin, or just makes it easier to put on. Plus, then you don't have to touch it that much. And ideally, I just wrap it on and push it up. You kind of want to be about halfway, so if you want to put more on, this thread I'm using here is a rusty brown 8/0 uni, and I tie it on right here, and that just creates a little ball so that the lead can't slide back. And I go back to the barb, and we're going to put some legs on. Well, I guess it's tails. And the tails I'm using are this, which I believe is a leg material. They call this a dubbing, and I have no idea what you use this for dubbing. But one day, this is back when it came out. I don't know what that is, maybe a year and a half ago or so. Bryn had it, and he was like, oh, I'm using this stuff for tails, check this out. And I was like, man, that is a really smart idea. And I would say that without a doubt, tails or legs, this stuff is perfect for. Without a doubt. And if I could get through in my fingers, I'll show it to you. Yeah. There it is. So that's it. So you put it on. Usually I just try and line it up with the lead and then come back. Try and keep them on top. You can split them if you want, but I don't think it's a big deal. They're kind of curly, so they separate. They don't lock together like if it was fibers from a hackle or anything. And I'm just going to make them just a little bit shorter. I think that's a good length right there. See that? Okay. Next thing I'm going to put in is a wire. And this is a black small. There's that ultra wire there, right? It's UTC. And we'll just tie it in, and we're going to use this to segment the body. And you can go up with it. And I'm just going to cut these. Just a little bit shorter there. And the last thing I'm going to put on is this nymph skin here. The company's Virtual Nymph. I guess every nymph we tie is virtual, but that's the name of the company there. And the color is natural. Now, you see the size there, 4.5 millimeters. They make two sizes. I think you make a 4.5, and I believe it's a 2.5. You really want the 2.5, but I actually think they're the same amount of money. So if you get the 4.5 and you just cut it in half, right? This is the original size of it. You just cut it in half. You get twice as much for the same money. Now we're going to tie this in. Sometimes it's easier to catch it if there's a little bit of a point. But the best thing you can do here is catch it on the side. You need it on the bottom, but if you catch it on the side and then bring it around to the bottom, I think it's a lot easier. If you try and just catch it onto the bottom, it doesn't usually work out too well. You want it to be flat, too. That's another thing you want. On the bottom and flat, not curled up like a taco. Yeah, I think that's all right. Dubbing. This is what he uses here. This is a yellow-orange. It's Simbay. Oh, Sibay. Sibay. I don't know how you say that. But it's a yellow-orange. It's almost, it's got a lot of different colors in it. It's got yellow-orange, obviously, but then it's also got some black in here. And some brownish color, or like an amber. And this is important for later on, and I'll explain why later on, but the colors in this matter. It can be, this stuff, these coarser dubbings can be they can be tough to put on. Helps if you lick your fingers, or if you have like a if your fingers are just, have the like oils on it. If your fingers are dry, it's a problem. You want to go about halfway. With a little carrot shape. There we go. Okay. Now we take the nymph skin, and we pull it fairly tight, and you want it on the bottom, and you want it straight. There we go. And the wire, I don't know, something like 4 or 5 turns. Yeah. What I like to do is I like to bring this up maybe halfway, fold the skin back because we need the skin still, and then fold the wire back. Then we break it off. Then we make sure that this skin is again in the center. That's all right. All right, that should be okay. You can look at it from the top too, that helps. All right, so this is where I sway a little bit different than the original pattern. The way Bryn ties it, and the way I believe he still ties it, is that he puts in a hen. Let's go grab a hen here. I do this as well. Yeah, like a speckled hen. See that? Use that for legs. And you need a good sized one. About this size. See that? And he also goes back to this dubbing. I'm going to show you what he does here. He takes a good clump of it like this. See that? And I believe he kind of pulls it apart a little bit and makes sure he has like some nice straight lengths of it, and he ties it in. I also think he cuts it off flush like this. He ties it in like this. See that? And he puts his hen hackle in here like this. He ties it in like that, and then he dubs in the thorax, and he brings this over as legs, and then he brings over this dubbing in over like a thorax cover. So he's using the dubbing as a thorax cover. I never saw anybody do that. I've seen people use dubbing on the head of a streamer to finish it, but I never saw somebody use it as a thorax cover. And you can give it a shot. But I did do that a bunch of times. But the whole idea, I think, was just to get the color and to reduce the mess of it just a little bit. And that's when I came up with using Antron. Two different colors of Antron, actually. This one right here is a yellow. See that? See that color? So that's a yellow. And then this one is an amber, and it kind of goes with that March brown color. So we take two of those. We take those two, I mean. I line them up here. And mixing these can be really difficult, so I don't really mix them. I kind of just, if I can, as long as there's no knots in it, I kind of just separate them a little bit. If you spread them out and you almost like fold them over, then you open them up a little bit and then you just kind of twist them up. That's really all you need to do. Make sure the ends are straight. And once we UV it blends in completely. So two different colors of Antron. A yellow and an amber, essentially to match this dubbing here. See that? It's a pretty good match. And we tie it in. right on top, right back to the dubbing. And we get our hand hackle. These legs should be a good size. Not crazy, but a decent size. And we're just cutting out the tip. See that? And then we tie it in upside down. So the good side here is down. And the reason we do that is because when we turn it, we want that to be up. Again, right on top. So you see what we got here? We got the hen, we got the antron. Now we go back to our dubbing. And cover this up. Right up against there. I think that's all right. We bring over the legs. I make a space now. I try and figure out exactly how much I need. I can do this before though, it doesn't really make a difference. So I also try and, you see, I'm gonna tie it in even with legs all the way up here because I want to taper. Just hold them. Make sure it's on the top. You can pull it in. And then if you want, you can also just fold it over a hair. Flip that off. Make sure there's a space. Bring this over and take a look. Yeah, that's gonna work. Run your fingers through it like a floss, it'll straighten everything out. Now, we don't bring this over in this spot. We bring it over actually in front of this, in front of the bead here. And to get the thread up there, what I do is I put a few whip finishes in here, and I make sure when I pull it tight, it's on top. See that? So the thread is on top, and now I bring the thread over. See that? So the thread is there, but it's whip finished in there, so it's fine. Need a good amount of space up here. So push this bead back. And we do two things. We bring over the antron. Make sure it's on top. Make sure it's tight. I just did, what is that, 3 turns there. And then I go and I bring the skin over, well, under, I guess you could say, right? There we go. I fold it back. I really make sure these turns are in good. Pull it real, I stretch it real tight and I clip it. Then I actually bring this back. And I fold it back now. But I don't turn, put thread turns on it. I kind of just make almost like a hollow style dam. Just to keep it laying that way. And then I whip finish right in there. Just make sure our legs are in good shape. Yeah. Alright, so now what I do is I get my UV, pull this tight. You could put a little bit on here first, just a drop. Then I'm going to let this soak in. Essentially, I'm trying to make this thing one piece with the UV. And another important thing is I'm not putting UV all the way back here because I need to clip it. And if you put UV all the way to the back on this first go at it, then what's going to happen is that you're not going to be able to make it taper with the antron. My phone seems to be going crazy here. So now if you see, well, maybe you could see, it's a little bit short of the end. Save that. Then we go back to the UV. Then, if you didn't get any UV on the thread, you can just super glue it. Now, it's a complicated nymph, there's no doubt about that. There's a lot of steps to it, but it's a good nymph. We know it works. Bryn uses it. I think he uses it exclusively on the bottom. And definitely it helps them, because of the weight, for sure. But it also looks real good. And he fishes it all year round, even though it's a March brown nymph. I mean, it can kind of be a bunch of different things. It can be a little bit of a stonefly, too, in non-March brown times. But I mean, I think that this is how I feel about nymphs, at least, is that it's about size and weight first. So the size really kind of makes it a bunch of different things. It can be that ISO size, it can be a stonefly nymph, it can be the March brown nymph size. And then the weight of it, it's on the bottom. The color, I think, is almost like third, honestly. And also, this bead, I use a really big bead. I don't think he uses a bead this size. I think he steps it down. This is, I said 3/16. He's probably using a 5/32 or something like that. But I try and use the biggest bead I can get on there. But that's it. Bryn's March brown nymph. Give it a shot. It's definitely a good pattern. All right. See ya.